Welcome to this Roll for Crit preview of Dice Miner, a new dice drafting game from Atlas Games, now on Kickstarter. In this game, you are dwarves who are being attacked by dragons, so you need to head back into the mountain and claim your former glory.
Yes, each player will be attempting to mine through the mountain, taking dice that represent different types of resources or possibly hazards to avoid. On your turn, you will be selecting a die from the mountain display. You must choose a die from the top of the mountain, meaning that there are no other dice on top of it, and when you take it, it will be added to your trove, your collection of dice. Then the next player does the same thing, and so on. And depending on the symbol that you have chosen, it will have different effects during the scoring portion of the game. Now, some of these dice also have a beer symbol on them. If you have a die showing that symbol at the start of your turn, you can give someone else the gift of beer. You can re-roll that die and give it to them, and in exchange, you will now be allowed to take 2 dice from the mountain, and you no longer have to abide by that rule where you can only take things from the top. You can also take from the side, as long as there are dice stacked on top of only one of the 2 top sides of the die that you want to take. After that, the other dice that were on top will fall into place, filling in any gaps that you left. Tunnel dice are the most common type. They're white dice with different numbers on most of their sides. To score these points, you need a straight set between 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if you have a 1, 2, and 3, that will give you 6 points for each pip showing on that die. But you need that 1 to start. So a 2, 3, and 4 won't get you any points. You have to always begin with a 1. There are also treasure dice. These are pretty simple. You just look at the amount of treasure symbols that are showing, and you gain a point for each one. However, whichever player has the most treasure at the end of the round gains double the score for their treasure symbols showing. So you have to be careful if someone is running away with all of those dice.
Both of those sound like great ways to score points, but sometimes you may not have the sides you want. That's where the blue magic dice come in. At the start of the scoring phase, you're going to look at your magic dice, and for each symbol on them, you're going to be able to reroll that many dice. So if you wanted to make sure you got more 1s for your tunnel dice, or maybe a higher gold count in your treasure dice, you can use your magic dice to reroll if you chose. Finally, there are 2 other dice we haven't brought up yet, and that's the hazard dice and the tool dice. Now, hazard dice are these black, red, scary dice that either have cave-in symbols or dragons on them. During the scoring phase, you're going to lose points for every one of those kinds of symbols on the die. So if there are 2 dragons, you'll lose 2 points. 1 cave-in, 1 point. However, the tool die could reverse that. The tool die has 3 different kinds of symbols: a shield, a pickaxe, and a treasure chest. The shield turns the negative dragon points into positive ones, while the pickaxe turns negative cave-ins into positive points. So that -2 points from dragons can become a +2 if you have a shield. The treasure chest die is important for the end of the scoring phase. Once everyone has gathered up their points, you usually re-roll all dice. So let's go back to that earlier example. If you had a shield and dragon dice, you may not have a shield next round because you re-roll all the dice you've already claimed. However, the treasure chest die, for every treasure chest you have, you let to keep a die on the face it was. So if you really want to keep that shield, you can hold it on to the next round. And let's not forget, you start off with a unique dwarven hero. They have their own abilities, such as a permanent shield or treasure. And then after you play 3 rounds, you're going to add up all the points you gained from each round and see who is the best dwarf.
The flow of the game is pretty fast and straightforward. You go around taking turns, just taking a die, next player takes a die, and so on. It's pretty light game, pretty accessible, but the thing that definitely makes this one stand out from other drafting games is the layout of that mountain, and the fact that your choice of die is limited by what you can see at different portions, and also that beer concept of being able to take multiple dice or take a die from a lower layer of the mountain can really change things up, because you have to decide when is the right time to do that, what options might that give to my opponent based on what I take, and when you re-roll that beer die and give it to someone, you could be giving them a die that is beneficial to them in the scoring round. So you always have to weigh those options.
That's true. It also adds a political element. So if you're playing with more than 2 players, you could argue who should get my beer die, and they could try to convince you, I'll give you my next beer die. So it adds that extra little social element to the game.
Yeah. Again, it goes pretty quickly. It's simple. It's light. But as the turns go on, you amass more and more dice. So your scores are going to get higher and higher. And what you're thinking about and what your strategy might be for the long game is really going to progress as things go on. And we were saying that even in the first round, really, it's not as much about what can you score for this round. It's more about what can you set up for future rounds, because the more of those tunnel dice you have, for instance, the more likely you are to get the set of straights that you want. Or if you have a good set of the shield dice or the pickaxe dice and a treasure chest, you can hold those in place. Now maybe those hazard dice are beneficial to you and you want to go after those. And things like that add enough depth, I think, that really make it an interesting long-term play.
We should point out that what we're showing right now is obviously a preview copy, so subject to change, but that 3D mountain is going to be part of the deluxe edition with a couple other goodies. The standard one will still have a mountain that you put things on. It's cardboard standee instead, though. So you'll still have that 3D dice experience, just it's going to be a little bit more compact.
Both editions will also have much nicer looking dice than we have on display here, but there will be some differences between the standard and the deluxe, some extra color tones, maybe some translucent dice to make them really pop and stand out. But that is what it is. If you enjoy drafting games or dice games, this is one that's pretty interesting. And for a dice game, it's certainly, I don't think, has too much luck in it, because based on what you pick, you might end up having tons of rerolls. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to decide exactly what you want and mitigate that luck element.
In addition, the drafting is quite fun. Instead of just picking one die and hoping that your opponent has a poor situation, the beard dice symbols allow you to really set up the mountain, meaning not only can you take 2 dice, but you can really make sure your opponent has some poor choices on their turn.
Yes, you want to make sure if you know that someone's desperate for a 3 to complete their set for a lot of points, you want to make sure they cannot do that. Either take the 3s or take all the tunnel dice, or take maybe the magic dice so that they don't have as many opportunities to reroll. Lots of different things that you can do. And again, those specific heroes can also really change the game. If you're someone who starts out with a treasure symbol, then that makes you more likely to want to go for those. And that could end up with you making a big comeback, maybe if you're behind, but you get the most treasure symbols. You could double your score that way and come back from a bad place. So there is, I think, a lot more depth, no pun intended, because it's a cave, you're going underground, or a mountain, whatever it is, to the game than its pretty basic gameplay loop would indicate, making it, I think, a good, fun, light game that people could enjoy of a lower skill level, or even more hardcore gamers could find some fun in a game like this. The game is called Dice Miner from Atlas Games, and it's on Kickstarter right now. We're going to have a link to it in the description below. You can take a look, see what you think for yourself if you decide to back it or not, and let us know in the comments down below what you think about this game and how your dragons are doing, and if you're surviving out there among the mountains with your fellow dwarves.
Until next time, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
And this has been a Roll for Crit preview. If you want to help out, you can check out our Patreon, or a simple click to like and subscribe can go a long way.
We really appreciate everything that you can do for us. We love you.